All right, welcome everybody. We are really excited today to show you a brand new feature of our platform here at Administrate, which we are calling Automator. It is an absolutely disgusting day here in Scotland. The weather is terrible, but this lines up with what we're going to show you today because this feature is super sick. See what I did there? Anyway, what is Administrate Automator? Well, Automator is basically a feature of our platform that we have had years of requests coming in from customers to help facilitate. But they didn't come in saying we want the automator, did they? They came in bits and pieces through sales calls and through customer visits and so forth. And basically, it's this idea that our customers who are looking for a training management platform are running some of the biggest, most complicated training operations in the world. And they're running them all over the world. And they have all kinds of custom business logic, custom workflows, things that need to be done that are unique to them, that are really important, that are pretty mind-numbing in many cases to do, very manual. And even when you have a training management platform like Administrate that handles 90% of your admin work, that 10% can still be a big problem at scale. And so we are delighted to roll out Administrate Automator, which has been in beta testing for about 6 to 7 months now. And Hisham and I are going to kind of walk through what is it, why it might be useful for you and your organization today, and why it's so important for the future and how we think about even topics like AI and how to integrate that into your training operations. So Hisham, you've got some slides to take us through. I'm excited for this.
Thanks for the introduction, John. Yeah, really excited to show Automator and what it does and how customers are using it. So as John was saying, Automator really automates your work, helps you build your workflow and automations within Administrate. So just a little bit of maybe introduction about what Automator is and how it's built. So we use a white label NAN, which is a kind of like a drag and drop flow that you could build integrations and automations, whether you want to build automations within Administrate so that workflows talk to each other. Maybe you have a manual process that you want to automate or make faster. In addition to that, you could also integrate other tools and soft systems with Administrate. So kind of like, hey, I'm going to build this automation. When this is completed, I want to send an email, or a message in Slack or Teams, or I want to hook up some calendars, or maybe hook up to a resource management system or a homegrown system they want to connect it to.
Yeah, because all of those logos in that slide right there, they are not Administrate, are they? Those are other applications that you might be using to deliver training within your environment.
Yes.
And it can be everything from a product like HubSpot to a database, like in that example, we've got Postgres, to hundreds of various things. And this platform that we've white labeled is called N8N. So the letter N, the number 8, the letter N. You can Google it and browse the hundreds of different systems that have built connectors that can hook up to this.
Yes, and really NAN is great. It's built within Administrate, so you're not like logging into a different system. So within the Administrate instance, you'll be able to say, you're on events, and like, hey, I want to automate some things there. Like when I send an email, this needs to happen. And we can walk through the examples in the next slides. And then from within that screen, you're connected to N8N. You start building your workflows, hit save, and then it's there. You can start working. Again, what we've built here with N8N is that you don't need to be a developer to start building automations, but with having some developing skills, it will definitely boost that, but it's not required. And then you could start connecting to all the different systems. Right, so Automator solves a lot of these problems. And talking a little bit more about the problems that we're looking at is that right now teams are spending a lot of time doing these manual work, whether they're like need to check and validate an invoice, mark it, and then this needs to head up a pipeline to spin up the training and so on and so forth. This takes a lot of clicks. This takes a lot of time. You have to have a to-do task to check and basically babysit those tasks to do them.
And a lot of times these are things that are similar to what every one of our customers is doing, but it'll just be slightly different in a way that is difficult for us as a product company to service, right? We hear this all the time. It's, can we do X, Y, and Z to process an invoice or to double check a registration, or how do you think about a wait list? All of these types of things. Every training company does these things, but many of them just do them slightly differently or would like to do them slightly differently. And so this is where kind of Automator comes in, because Administrate will get you to that starting point, and then you can basically build out that custom workflow exactly how you like it. It's very clear where the customization begins and ends, and then you can solve these problems that might be still annoying today.
Exactly. Yeah, and we're going to see how, like, in Administrate, we will provide a lot of like quick start guides and workflows that you can get and start up running. However, having these workflow built out, then your team can then extend that logic. So kind of like this waitlist example that you just gave, it works differently for different customers. We will have like a waitlist configured already within Administrate, but then you can start adding workflows, changing workflows according to your needs. So that's exactly the problems that we're solving, is to automate, make things go faster, and then the manual boring work gets eliminated, and then you get to focus on actually building and enhancing your training.
We also like to think too that this opens up a whole lot of choice. So we have our integrations that we have built within Administrate, and they talk to big systems that are commonly used like Salesforce or, Cornerstone or Docebo or whatnot. We've talked a lot about these things. But there are plenty of products out there that don't have the market share and yet are really great, or they're new. Maybe it's an AI product that you want to try, or it's some sort of niche product that you knew about in a previous life that you brought to this company or whatever. And it's like N8N allows you to hook up these other systems, which us as Administrate could not justify investing the time and effort to build those things, but you as a customer can take advantage of them.
Yeah, right. And consider this. Let's say you have an automation built or an integration built, and then it works great. But then at some point, you wanted to say like, hey, okay, after this workflow, I need to send notifications or emails to the, to the team, and send a scheduled report, whatever, or do something with that integration. But then you'd have to wait for IT resources or developer resources in your company, or like Administrate if they're going to support that niche kind of requests. So without Automator, you're waiting and spending all this time. With Automator, then it's very simple to configure and modify what you need, and we're going to see that in an example here in the next bits.
And just some skepticism here, right? You're saying it's simple, but and I like to think that I'm a former programmer. And Hisham said the other day that he's very technical, which we had a little debate about. But Hisham and I are fairly technical people. When you say simple, if I don't have that technical background, just how simple is it? You're going to show us, right? Some of this.
Yeah, we're going to go through that examples of how, like, okay, I want to send an email via Gmail. Then you add a note, like a workflow, and then click your Gmail account and hit save.
Big promise. Can't wait to see it.
Right. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the components of the Automator. So we consider these are four. It's a powerful workflow engine, as we've spoken a little bit before. We use N8N, which is really, really powerful. It's integrated within Administrate, right? That's component 2, which means you're not going to another system, because what we're trying to do in Administrate is also eliminate or decrease as much as possible the jumping in between different systems, especially when we talk about LMS integrations, for example, HRIS, or any of the booking flows, in addition to the integrations here.
And one key point here too is that we are running this infrastructure on your behalf, right? So we are running N8N within our own data centers. That means that you don't have to sign another agreement with another vendor. There is no sub-processor, because we are still processing your data. So all of it is staying within our secure boundaries. All of it is covered by our SOC 2 and ISO 27001 policies and procedures. So it's, even though the software is open source and we are deploying it's all being run by us within our data centers, and you don't have to worry about, it's just like any other part of our platform that we're deploying.
Exactly. And then we get that questions like, okay, but we have an iPaaS already and we use it, and so on and so forth. We have MuleSoft, Jitterbit, and so on. So how can we use N8N? And the answer here is really simple. Is yes, if you do have that, but you still are relying to your organizational IT development resource, and you have to wait for them when the if the priority comes in to accept your request and do the changes to help you automate your training. With an AN, it's all in your hands now, and you could build and modify all your automations and build these workflows.
Yeah, and that's a common theme that we see, right, with customers, which is almost 100% of our customers will have something like a Boomi or a MuleSoft
Mhm.
or Workato. There's a whole bunch of these. I think you mentioned Jitterbit. And the problem is that the training teams are often not permitted by IT to access them, or they're only able to access them in very specific ways. And then there's still a little bit of hookup work that's involved to get those systems to talk to administrate. And so what we've done is we made sure, which is the second piece, which is this is very tightly integrated with administrate. And you don't have to do anything. You don't have to call IT or anything like that. You can get up and running because a lot of times customers just need relatively simple things. We had one
Simple
customer,
add this field,
yeah,
change this
totally.
yeah.
We had one customer that was like, look, we have to have a special sequencing rule for our ID numbers, right?
Hmm.
Because they had some government contracts or something. And it's like, we're never going to build that into Administrate, right? It's just too
Yeah.
specific. And so they were forced to either manually do this, or they could get Automator, program it one time, and it sits there and does it, whirs away all day, every day.
Yeah, and we'll see how also modifying this, how simple it is. Yeah, you mentioned all like it is unique to businesses, and some of these examples are like in a booking flow, for example, it goes through all these different steps and stages, and like if it lands here, requires approval, it needs to contact this person, they need to provide this form. So all of this could be then automated and notify the respective person. So talking about component number 3 and 4 are really what it provides. One, automatic automations, meaning, if I publish this event,
Say that three times really fast.
automatic automation. Twist your tongue.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So for automatic automation, oh, now I can see it. So for automatic automations, you get to like trigger things when things happen automatically and make things happen elsewhere. All of this like, and you'll be able to see that in your logs.
So these are things that I don't have to think about that get triggered by something. They're constantly running in the background and doing what they do, and
Exactly.
I can check up on them, but I don't have to do anything.
Right, right. And if things happen, you could check the logs and it will pay warning or something. But yes, so for these automatic automations, we could hook it up to anything in Administrate because we support all these different, triggers and webhooks. And so when you create an event, publish an event, you need things to happen like, hey, generate a public URL, or I don't know, check the maintenance of this resource and make sure that this machine is operating in addition to its availability. If you don't have a calendar hooked up, you could do a lot of this. And then at the end of the day, you go to your dashboard and see if there's anything wrong. And then you're like, okay, I'll tackle this thing. The other type of automations is like user invoked or on demand. And we see a lot of these kind of like, hey, I want to, spin up an ID for people to, when they go to their training, they could just like scan it and enter the training room. You could,
And these are things that you would want to do not every time or always automatically, but it's a certain point in time you want a human in the loop and you want them to be able to control when
yes,
this runs, right?
exactly. Right. So I guess let's see. Let's before we jump into the examples, this is kind of like what we want to show here is one of the examples in healthcare, what we see in trending, like from the past and up until the 2020s. We see at the milestones when they introduce different kind of compliances or bills that healthcare needs to adapt and start to work to make sure that they are compliant. We notice here, we see the yellow is the spending in the healthcare and how it relates to the admin growth as opposed to the physicians growth who are actually doing the healthcare work. We see most of that spending is on admin work because when you introduce kind of like, HIPAA or a SOC 2 compliance and whatnot, you have all your team working. It's all manual. It takes a lot of work to make sure that you're on time to make, to be compliant. And a lot of this can be easily automated. It can be automated. And instead of that spending goes into admin, it would go into the actual healthcare work, training physicians, getting more physicians and really growing there. And we see a very similar trend in the training organizations in the L&D world.
Yeah, I think it was a couple of years ago, Training Magazine came out with a report that 60 to 70% of all spend in our industry goes to salaries of people delivering that training. And it's very similar to this. We've talked about this a lot, but there's kind of this almost perverse reality, which is as more technology has been incorporated into corporate training delivery, there's more silos and there's more systems that you have to hook up and there's more complexity and it costs more and organizations can't always afford to invest in that area. And so then spreadsheets are born, right? And they are carried or, not maybe physically carried, but they're moved by people. And this becomes very time consuming, very expensive. And it's almost like things get worse with more tech.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of studies out there that have shown that.
So it kind of make me remember one of the examples I want to speak about is, imagine this, and we've seen this a lot, where customers, even who have already systems that they work to manage their training and so on and so forth, have to always keep something on the back of their mind or report that they need to check, weekly or something. Is like, okay, how many courses I haven't updated in the past, I don't know, year, to make sure they're up to date with the requirements and the information and so on and so forth. Or I log into Administrate and then I immediately see it's like, hey, your forklift training is at max capacity and it's wait till August, and you have 50 visitors a day trying to find training and they couldn't find it. And then, you could probably schedule more training, right? And you have the capacity, you have the instructors' resources. How about you consider 5 additional events in August? And right now, to pull that information requires, various reports, analyzing these reports, and coming up with a strategy around it, and so on and so forth. So with automations, with things like insights, which we're going to speak maybe in the next video, and some of the AI related technology that we're using, you could have that immediately. You log into the dashboard, you get all this information, and then you say like, yeah, I want to create, and it will find the instructors and so on and so forth, publish to your website, all automated. So things that could take you weeks will take you just like a click away when you log in. Right, so let's talk about examples. One of the examples that we want to show here is what we call instructor jumble. Maybe John, you want to give a...
Well, I just learned that Hisham also played basketball, but I'm a big basketball fan, college basketball fan, and this doesn't go over so well in Europe because far less people play basketball here. But basically, we have had this question for years at Administrate, which is, I have a population of instructors. Maybe half of them I employ, maybe half of them are contractors, and those ratios will vary. But I want to schedule a class and I want to be able to proactively send out some sort of message to this population of instructors and say, hey, there's a new class that's being scheduled and who's interested in this? Now, we have heard this problem articulated for literally 10 plus years. And the problem with it is that almost every customer thinks about it in slightly different ways, right? So in that example, some folks say, you know what, they want to give the opportunity to take that class or to teach that class to their employed instructors first, because that's who they employ to do this, and their contractors are overflow and maybe more expensive or maybe less quality. Some customers say, actually, it's the opposite. We do employ instructors, but they have other jobs that they should be doing, and we'd like to outsource that first. Some customers say we want to do it evenly and they want to do a round robin type of distribution. Some customers say actually they'd like to get the most popular instructors and give them a couple days to respond and then open it up to a broader pool. And so these are the types of things that we see all the time, where just a simple send a message out to people who wants to teach this just doesn't really work from a product perspective. So instead, what we've done is we have invested in Automator, and we can let customers basically take a standard recipe, build their own logic, and tweak it to how they want.
Yeah. So what we're going to go through here today is the standard recipe, which we will provide all our customers, and then they get to tweak it according to their distinct needs. So what we're looking at here is kind of like a screenshot from the Automator workflow builder, and it's really just a simple drag and drop nodes.
And that's it. It's 3 boxes on the screen.
So 3 boxes on the screen to show a web page to the instructor, because you're sending an email out to instructors to say like, hey, are you available to teach this training? And then they click on their email, click to see like to respond. And then they see a web page to say, hey, are you available? Yes or no. And then they will respond with whatever answer. And then it gets into the logic. So this is the first bit, is to display a web page and accept a response. It's exactly 3 nodes.
Okay.
So
and a node is kind of like a thing, an action point, or a thing that happens.
Yes. So basically the first node is a webhook listener, so that when instructors click on something, they go to a URL. This is the webhook that accepts that URL. It's like, okay, if they go to, I don't know, acme.com/instructor response, it will land here. And then the next node is to get the event information, right?
From Administrate.
And display it. And the last one is to display an HTML form.
Okay.
So really these are the steps, like get the URL, get the event information, display the web page to the instructor. And let's see that in action. So I'm going to go here to an Administrate instance. Here I'm on an event, right? So I'm planning the event and putting all the different informations and resources. And now I'm at a stage where I want to send the invite to instructor to see who can teach this. So from administrator, from the ad hoc emailer here, I'm going to email to contacts. And, you have various search tools to send it to all instructors, or, the highest rated or whatever. But I'm going to send it to myself for now. And Sham. And then, we built a template, but you could really build a fancy template if you'd like using our template builder. And this is like the link that I got from NA10. And then I'll send the email.
And so that was like 2 clicks.
2 clicks. Yeah. Right. And then I already done that before, so that we don't, and then the instructor will receive such an email like this, or fancy, right? And then, are you available to teach this? Click here to respond. And then the instructor will click here, and they will get all the information about the event, right? It's simple here.
And now this web page, do I have to find a web server or call IT or anything
Not at
like
all,
that?
no.
Okay.
All built N8N, and we can see how in a moment. And then, when the instructor, let's say, yes, I can. And the basic example that we have here is just the standard, where the first one to respond will get it.
Okay.
Right? So...
And some customers don't want that, right? They want more complicated things, like they want to see who responded, and they want to pick they want to have the final say or whatever. So this will all be kind of
they can modify that, right? So when they go to the Automator, they can view all automations, and they would see Instructor Jumbo. They will then click Launch Workflow, and then they're in their workflow. That's where they can add a node. Maybe I want to send an email after this happens, after an instructor responds. So confirm. I could say Gmail, or actually let's send email, and then click, and then maybe it's Gmail, right? So maybe I'm using Gmail as my service, or Gmail. What do I want to do? Send a message, and then you'll put your account, I'll sign in or whatever, and make it work. It's back to that, how simple it is. It is as simple as that.
Okay, so take me back though to the screen in Administrate. You clicked a button there, and what are we seeing right here?
So what we're seeing here is the list of automations that I have configured for the event object in Administrate. Because in various screens, in the accounts, contacts, bookings, and so on, you'll find this Automator drop-down list with automations specific to the object that I'm looking at. Now, these are manual, meaning I don't have any automatic automations here, but we're going to see an example where we have automatic automations. And then this is what I see. So these manual ones, when I click them, like when I click Run Event Preflight Checks, it will go and do some stuff based on whatever is there, right? Or like process cancellation business rules, it will do and then send some things and refund or whatever.
You have set these things up. Then we have linked them to pieces of Administrate, and my normal users can go in, see this. They don't even need to know that Automator is a thing, right? They could just think this is part of Administrate because it is, and they just do their workflow and live their lives like normal. So that's what we're saying. That's one of the big differences.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. So what happened here, right? So we sent an email to instructors. Somebody responded. What happens? In the basic template that we've built, which you could extend and modify, customers could do whatever they want. We'll, let me see, hit refresh. So what I see is, let's go here. I see a note that Hisham has accepted on date, time, and so on and so forth, and they're added to the event, right? So it's automatically magically happened, right? You could have your rules where, no, I need to go to a wait list or a pending state before I approve it, and you could totally have that. You could build that yourself. And the standard workflow, this is what we want to show you, is that you could automate all that process.
But so this instructor, in one click, saying yes, well, 2 clicks, they click their email, then they say yes, then they're automatically booked onto the event, so I don't have to think about it. We've made a note of that fact, and there's all kinds of other things that could happen, like I could get emailed as the administrator saying that Hisham is accepted, and I don't have to worry about this anymore.
And not only that, right? So the instructor now is on the event. What that means is the instructor's calendar is booked if you have calendar synced turned on.
That's right.
Right. So they're booked now. Their availability is blocked. It also received all the emails, information about the event, the students list, attendees, and everything that is already within Administrate has already run.
And there's probably an issue that was logged on our dashboard, which has now been cleared because the instructor is assigned.
Exactly.
So everything's just happened, right?
Things happened, and you are aware that they happened. So less clicks for you, more time to look at other things. So how did this all happen? So back to the workflow that we've built, right? We said 3 steps, which we added another, send in Gmail. The other step here that we have built workflow is the response management. Is, okay, now they responded with this, and then it checks a couple of things. This is where you could start changing the logic. For example, what we have here is, if they accepted, it will do this, like put them on the event, put a note, what did they accept, and so on. And if they rejected, it just doesn't, and it just logs it. This is where you can start adding nodes and start adding logic to it.
So you've branched out and said, not only do the normal thing, but do a whole new bunch of things in a row.
Right. Okay. This is where you could say, and maybe you could hook up to an AI to get like a logical score or rating or whatever. And then this is where you could say, okay, I want to do another, HTTP request, and then call Administrate to get more information to then, play around it or use it in my decision.
Right.
So
that could be used for something like, on the confirmation email, maybe because Hisham is accepted, I could then look up what your rate is, send you a confirmation and say, thanks, you'll be paid your normal hourly rate, which is $2 an hour.
Yeah, I like that.
You don't seem to like that too much. Yeah, but things like that, right? So you can go out and look up other stuff and then incorporate it.
Exactly. And it's all in the workflow builder. And once you hit save here, done, right? It's there, it's working. You could obviously do some testing and so on before, but it's there in Administrate. You don't have to call anybody and wait months for them to respond, and then we'll do the change, and wait more months for it to be implemented. You're saving all that time. Really.
Yeah, really powerful.
Instructor jump ball. Oops, let me do a
we actually never explained what the jump ball was, did we?
I was waiting for you.
Okay, so in the game of basketball, right? Every now and then there will be a situation where maybe 2 players grab the ball at the same time, or the ball goes out of bounds and the referee can't make up their mind as to who it went off of. It's too close to call. In that case, you will have a jump ball. And what that is the referee comes in between 2 players, throws the ball straight up, and whoever can jump the highest gets it. Now, Hisham has assured me that he can dunk a basketball, and I'm thrilled to see that. But basically, it's this same concept, right? We throw the ball up. We say there's an event that is needing an instructor, and whoever can jump the highest or respond the fastest gets it.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, this is the second workflow that we explained within NA10. But we can go through it maybe in detail here. So, right. So the first node, instructor clicks accept or decline. It checks the instructor's response. It's really just like, did they say yes, no, and then you expand on it. If decline, do this. If accept, do that. And then you could branch it out as you'd like.
And what we get questions all the time, which is like, yeah, but that in that example, the instructor didn't have to log in, right? Well, that's because the customer has said, look, we know it's their email, we've sent a token out, whatever, but you can always say first, make them log in.
Exactly.
There's all kinds of things that you can add to this, and it's really just up to you to figure out how you want to do it.
One of the examples that is similar to this that also one of our customers implemented is a registration process for learners. What they do is they send an email out to, for example, or all their, I don't know, instructors or their forklift operators or whatnot. So like, hey, who's interested in this training, or you need to get to this training. They receive an email link to say like, register now. When they click, they get everything's prepared for them. They just click yes.
This is the student. This is the student, right?
They don't have to go to the company website or LMS and then find the training, find the event that they'd like, and so on.
It's so one shot, one click,
done, and they're in the training.
Yeah, though that is super powerful, and I mean, hell, as somebody who attends trainings from time to time, I would like that, right? Just to be able to one-click book onto something. That sounds amazing.
Yeah. Really interesting. And then now we showed an example. Before I jump into the various different examples, I do want to show another example that we have hooked up here, the pre-flight check.
Now, how many examples of these do you have, Hisham? Dozens, right?
There are many.
Yeah, because what we've seen happen is people get the Automator, they will start playing with it. They'll implement one of these standard kind of recipes that we have out there. They might attend office hours, because every week we have office hours where customers come together on a Zoom call and ask questions. And sometimes other customers are answering those questions. And it's a very
it's a community where like they share each other. Like, yeah, we do have a community for the Automator where customers would share like, hey, I solved this problem with this automation. It's like the other customers like, can we have you share? It's easy to share.
Yeah, give away the recipe or share. Yeah. And it's like rabbits, right? All of a sudden you go from 5 automations to 50 to
yes.
We've got one customer that I think has well over 150 now, and that's been in the last 4 or 5 months.
It's saving them a lot. It is addicting in a sense where you get the satisfaction of like, look at all the time I saved and the problems I solved. You start thinking about all the different manual stuff you've been doing all your time, and now you want to automate.
Yeah.
So it's really, really cool. We kind of see now an example where we have kind of like an automatic automation with the instructor jump ball, just like manually send the email. Here it's purely automatic based on whatever you do in the event. And if I expand the Automator drop-down list, I could see, the manual stuff and then the automatic automation. The green check mark is really to see when was it last, processed. You get to know what's going on. Now, in this example, what I want to show is when, working on an event, and then at a certain stage, you want to say, like, this is ready to be committed. It's ready to be published. It's not published yet. It's just ready, so that we need to make sure that all the stuff is in place, everything's looking good, and you're safe to go, and you want to hit that publish button, right? So we have an automation based on like a custom field to say like it's ready, right? We want to hit it. And also it checks if it's publicly available or not. And then it will generate a public URL, a QR code that you could just print out, maybe put on a website, maybe hang over the training room where people just like click and register and go in. And we're going to see how that works.
Okay, so it's a combination of workflow, i.e., we think this event is ready to go. But also it's things like communications. It's potentially tools that, like that QR code, that need to be generated based on the event that I can't necessarily do in advance. And all of this would take me tons of time. I'd have to go to a website, and I'd have to put in an email and I have to mail it out. Yeah.
So consider this. One of the problems that we also see is instructor travel, right? So I want to go from this event to that event. Can they make it in time? Do they have to fly somewhere? And so on and so forth. Now, this is a basic example, right? But we want to show you the potential.
And this is also an example where it seems like every customer thinks of it in a different way, right? So we have, we're here in Scotland. For us, taking the train 40 minutes to Glasgow is no big deal, right? But maybe flying to London, that's a bigger deal and it costs more. And we have customers that think in terms of, well, actually, a 20-minute drive is no problem, but we've got people in other cities and we don't want to send people too much further. And we have customers that say actually a 5-hour drive is no problem. And so it's these nuances and these details about how customers visualize their world and how they operate. And it may even be different because European branches of your organization may think of travel in a much different way than Americans do. Anything over 30 minutes is a super long drive for a European, for example, right? So these are the things that you can now control with Automator. You're going to show us a pretty cool example.
And not only that, I want to add, because as part of the example is also you're hooking to resources, and your resources are like for high value training, like could be big machines, maybe resources are tied to the room itself. And then it's not just the availability of the resource, it's is it maintained? Is it, can you operate it? Does it require, I don't know, something?
Yeah, we have some customers that have certain resources need certain certifications in order to be able to be used to support the learner winning that certification. And so this type of complexity and interoperability and that kind of that detail is really important.
Yes. And then to add to that is also resources, their availability and so on and so forth could be tied to different systems, right? So you might have your resources linked to your, Google Calendar or Microsoft Calendar, which you could sync with Administrate. Great.
And those are normally things like meeting rooms, right? That are maybe shared with the rest of the business, or maybe the training team controls it all. But that's a classic example of a meeting room will have a calendar that Administrate can host.
Exactly. Right. Yes. There's also but we don't control that meeting room. We don't have access to the calendar, or, to know that if it's operatable or, not under maintenance, it's connected to another system and so on and so forth.
So classic example of that would be maybe you have, you're either using equipment and you're sharing it with the sales team because they're using it to do customer demos, but you're using it to do training, but maybe somebody else is using it to do training of dealers or whatever. And so these kind of 3 or 4 teams might be sharing these resources and really need to understand what's available when, why, etc.
Yes. So what we've done here, actually, I want to show the workflow before I run this example.
Okay.
So if I go to view all automations, I could see the Preflight check B, which I already have off intentionally so that we can turn it on and see how that works. So I'm going to launch that workflow. And let me zoom here a little bit. So what we have here, also consider all the complexities as a simple workflow, is when an event is updated, meaning I'm changing stuff on the event, it's going to always listen to see if, is it available for public? Yes, let's generate a QR code and mark it, and then you'll have a public URL for it. And then it checks, is like there's a condition to check, do you want to check travel time? It will do that, connect to Google Distance Matrix and so on and so forth, and it will get that information back. And then the last check is it ready to be published? Because, right, we talked about this one step before actual publishing to make sure that everything works. It's going to connect to Airtable, for example. This is to show you that you can connect to, very well-known systems and any system. Here, it has all the connectors. So you're not actually building an Airtable integration. It's already there. You're just adding that Airtable node and then looking at whatever resource you want to look at and so on and so forth. And then it's going to check the resources if they're operational or not, book the resource if it's already there, and then, or notify back to the admin telling them like, hey, it's under maintenance, you cannot do anything there. So let's enable this.
And this is a question I literally got from a prospect a couple of weeks ago, which is, that's great that Administrate has a calendar integration, and it is great, and that handles instructors and meeting rooms, but they're like, we've got this huge Airtable spreadsheet globally that we're sharing, and we need a way to be able to check it.
Yeah.
And right now, well, first it was manual, and then somebody spent quite a lot of time writing an integration, a developer, and they said it breaks all the time because they have to change things all the time.
They have to maintain
and they have to maintain it. And so this is a real example, and you had this up and running in minutes.
Yeah.
So
let's see what happens here. So I'm going to edit the event. It's in draft, but I want to go ahead and say, okay, it's available to public. Now I expect here a public URL to be generated with a QR code and whatnot. And then I'm going to make it from pre-planning to ready to commit. Again, this is the step just before the publishing to make sure I've got everything in place. And then I'm going to hit OK. Now, what I expect is then this will automatically call out the pre-flight check here, and then it would go through all this workflow and then update my event. Now, I'd say it usually takes maybe less than a minute, but let's see if it took even less. So I hit refresh to go in and see here. So I have a public URL, right? And it's processed now. So basically, if I copy the public URL, I'm just going to show you what, we have here built. So, and, just information about the event, you could click to register or just scan the QR or print it, on the door.
That's awesome. So I can just take my phone, right? And, scan that, do that.
And then take you to the registration form.
All right, cool. And that could be used for a sign-in sheet or any sort of stuff that I just want to collect. Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah.
Right. And then that's all automated, and that can come back into Administrate.
Yes.
Right.
It all connects to Administrate, so you don't have to, do things manually. So the other part of the workflow are one, travel distance time checking, right? And two, the resources checking in Airtable. So just quickly to scan through. So we have James Bell, the instructor, on the event. So we can see that with the automation, it automatically calculated their location to the location of the event and then gave an estimate travel time on the event notes.
And that data could be used in an email to them to just say, hey, we know, but based on your location, you're not that far away. Yeah. And how did you calculate that distance?
So when we look at the workflow management here, we see that it will go to a node here that checks with Google Matrix APIs.
Okay.
Get the location of the event, and Google just sends like, this is the distance, and then you do some kind of format, and that's it.
Okay. Great.
So yeah, so all of this is built, and again, it's like workflow, drag and drop, simple to work with. The other bit that it checked, and it left me a note here so that I don't have to check manually, but I could verify, is it noticed that since I have these resources assigned, we have the FS Aura, we have the Classroom 717, all assigned to this event, it went on and checked. Let's go back to the setup and let's see what it told me here. So it said the following resources were not available, probably through maintenance, because that's where it's being checked in Airtable. And it gave me like, this is under maintenance, this is in use, and so on and so forth. And if I go to Airtable here, I would then see that, yes, it is in use and test is unavailable. And it's just like got me all that information with that one click.
And this is just a dummy resources spreadsheet that you mocked up to kind of show how this could work. And then we unblocked a bunch of customers. And so
it is to showcase the possibility of like, you have your resources. It could be your resource availability within Administrate, or again, as we talked before, sync to your calendar or whatnot. But at the same time, you could also check up any other system if you need to get that information from elsewhere when we talk about shared resources. And it's as simple as adding an Airtable node, really. And then you could do the logic of whatever you want to do and send emails or notifications or update Administrate itself with that information.
All right. Do we have any more examples?
So walking through here, we can talk a lot more about all the examples that we have. So this is stuff that we've heard about, or maybe we have some things working with our other team members, but you could automate really any of your workflows. Like here, we're talking about an example of you're hiring people from your different HR systems. You hire a new developer or a new forklift training. And then you want to assign them automatically onto the right training so that they can get the right certifications to either train or register onto their next training if it's a prerequisite or something. So you could automate all that. And before Automator, it's a manual process, right? So you hire these, you need to check their roles, check what training are available or goals are available for these roles, enroll them, and basically it's a click by click, step by step, and make sure that you're on track of it all.
Yeah, and again, like for years we've had basic rules, right? I.e., if my job title matches this rule, put me on this path of learning, whatever. But we just had customer after customer saying, I want some more nuance. I want some more control. If a job title doesn't match, I want it to go into an exception handling phase. And, if I've got half of my certifications, but not all of them, I want to do something else. And so it's just these nuance areas that customers are really getting excited about. The devil's in the details, and this is how Automator can just break you out of that manual kind of jail.
Yeah, and it could change. Like, one of your team have changed roles, right? It happens in, I don't know, HubSpot, for example, or Salesforce, or they change their role, or Workday. They change their roles, and then things need to kick off, right? That's where you could start building this thing.
Decisions might need to be made, and it may not be that you're going on that plan of learning, but at least a review needs to happen or something.
Right.
Okay. What are some other examples?
So other examples could be approval workflows, right? You get a new booking. There's some kind of like policies that you need to check to make sure to progress that, where you need to create an invoice, which is automatic in Administrate. But then on the invoice, there's a couple of like more decisions to be made before it's routed to the next step to require further approval and then to roll out that booking. All of this are distinct between customers. They have different workflows, different rules, different approval workflows. All of this can then be logically built into Administrate as per your rules, and then you save your tons of time having to check them manually.
Right. Great. What else?
The standard integrations that you've built, we support a lot range out of the box in Administrate, right? But with this, then you could expand that logic furthermore. So all your HRS integrations, sales integrations, LMS integrations, so on and so forth, you could have really a niche kind of.
And many of our customers have multiple HRIS systems, multiple LMSs, and often there's the LMS that they're investing in for the future, and there's some legacy systems that they're trying to get rid of, and they don't want to spend money and so you can get all of these systems kind of hooked in.
Yes.
And manage it as according to your corporate strategy for your IT, right?
Exactly.
In your systems.
Right. And I can't stress enough, not only the building part is what is important, it's the maintaining and updating, because you can have your integration built, great, but updating this as time goes on gets cumbersome when you are relying to other teams and other parties and so on and so forth, which takes tons of time and tons of money.
Yep.
So there's so much more. We talked about the wait lists, you mentioned them. We talked about the legacy systems and a lot more. And one thing I would like to mention is we have a community. What we're building here is a community where we build some stuff, customers build their stuff, and then we share, and then you get to use them. It's very easy to take on a workflow, add it to your Automator and within Administrate, get to change things and get it working. So this is the power. This is the power from Automator.
We've shown a lot of specific examples here today of how Automator works with Administrate, how Automator works with other systems, how Automator can knit a whole bunch of things together. And I guess the question that we often get asked, and we actually got asked this internally by our own team, which is, okay, so how do we decide what to build into Administrate versus what to put into Automator?
Yeah.
And it's one of those decisions that can change over time. But the way that we think about this is we want to build the standard product and platform primitives that all customers will use. Things like wait lists and things like resources and things like instructors and these commonalities that every customer shares. Where we want to not build into our platform or product are the nuances or the customizations or configurations that customers may want to explore. So things like the jump ball, yes, jump ball is a thing, but everybody thinks about it slightly differently.
Yeah.
Waitlist is a thing, but everybody kind of thinks about it or wants to think about it slightly differently. That doesn't mean though that as we explore what customers are doing with this, as we observe the community that's being built around this, as we launch new recipes and put out new ideas, if we start seeing, hey, actually, there's 50 or 100 of these customers that are all using the same recipe and all kind of the same way, then we may choose to build that into the platform, right? Yeah. So this is a great way for us to explore with our customers how to think about the world and their challenges. And it's been a big learning experience for us, but I can't stress enough how exciting it is to witness what customers have built, how much time, how much money they're saving. It's hundreds and hundreds of hours, sometimes just for one customer.
Yeah.